He gave his all to represent the people of Christchurch West for 10 years in every sphere, and he remains fully committed to the further development of every constituent. It is my great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce this afternoon our first speaker, the candidate for Christchurch West, and the next parliamentary representative for Christchurch West. He is dogged by name and do good by nature. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. William Doggett.
And a wonderful good afternoon to the Barbados Labour Party family. How are you all feeling? Can you not feel that sense of victory? Can you not feel that we are on that precipice to make a great change in this country? Do you not feel that we are going to see the first female Prime Minister in the history of this country? That is what I am feeling. Ladies and gentlemen, I have come here to the wonderful parish of St. Thomas to give my strong and unswerving support to my colleague and friend, Cynthia Ford. Cynthia Ford is the person that I sat down next to in Parliament for 5 years. And I found her to be extremely supportive, extremely committed to the Barbados Labour Party, and always there to give a hand to anybody who asked for it. And I am 100% sure that Cynthia Ford will be the Member of Parliament for St. Thomas yet again. You know, I don't know if there was ever a time that the Democratic Labour Party member lost their deposit, but I think if this is the time that it will happen. Because so many people in St. Thomas love Cynthia Ford, just the same way that she loves them. She knows almost every constituent by name. And who she don't know by name, she would have even taught at school. And when you hear the people of St. Thomas speaking of Cynthia Ford, they speak of her in the most loving terms that you would ever hear of any Member of Parliament across Barbados. Anytime there's a Barbados Labour Party event, you can be sure once Cynthia Ford is available and healthy, she will be there. Because she is committed not only to St. Thomas, she is committed not only to the Barbados Labour Party, but she is a strong and committed Barbadian because she wants to see Barbados do the best it can be and always be the best it can be. That is why I am backing Cynthia Ford. And I want you, the people of St. Thomas, the people of Barbados, to back Cynthia Ford too. You're backing Cynthia Ford? You're backing Cynthia Ford? All right. But there's another woman in the Barbados Labour Party. Her name symbolizes love. Did you know that amor is love in Spanish? And for somebody whose name itself symbolizes love, that tells you the love, the care and affection she brings to the people of Barbados. Because Mia Amor Mottley loves the people of Barbados. And the people of Barbados love Mia Amor Mottley just as much. And you know, love always overcomes hate. And anybody or any party motivated by hate will always be overcome by love. And I am confident that Mia Amor Mottley not only will win her seat and beat Patrick Todd, you know, the putting him as he running for the Senate. He running for the Senate. Todd running for the Senate. But not only will Mia Amor Mottley win her seat and beat Patrick Todd, but Mia Amor Mottley will win the election for the Barbados Labour Party. You know, and I watched Frandel say that he gonna win the election. Did y'all see it? Did y'all hear him say that he gonna win the election? But when you look on his face, you can see he does not really believe it in his heart. He's saying it because he has to say it. Because the politician never says that they're going to lose, so he has to say that. Because he has to motivate his troops. But he knows that he will not win the next general election, whenever it is called. And I will again tell him, ring the bell, Frandel. Because when you were put in that job, you were put in that job for 60 months. But 60 months gone. And it's time that you should vacate the office and give somebody a chance who knows what they are doing. Well, for the last 10 years, we have been drifting left, right, and center. No direction, no vision, no leadership. And time to bring Barbados back from the brink. Barbados Labour Party. And you to this country, and we need to live in it. The only way to get rid of Frandel Stewart, forget all these minor parties. They're just spoiling. They are just there because they're motivated by hate and vengeance. But you are not joining in with them. You know what to do. You know where to put your X. You know exactly what y'all will do on election day. Because everybody in here getting out there and voting for the Barbados Labour Party. Now, many of you will not know this, but I knew Mia Mottley from the time I was 5 years old. And I am 40 now. So a long time. And let me tell you, when I was 5 and I think she was 7, from then, everybody that went to school with Mia Amor, that means love, Mottley, knew that she was somebody special. She had a special disposition. She had a special ability to make friends. She had a special ability to speak her mind and always tell the people the truth. And she took people into her confidence every single time. And as I watched her progress through the years, I saw her blossom into the fantastic, charismatic, erudite, accomplished leader that she is today. And wherever you go in the Caribbean, when Mia Amor Mottley is the Prime Minister, you could be proud to tell anybody, Mia is my Prime Minister. Well, any of y'all could be proud and say Frandel is your Prime Minister now? Well, there's no pride in that. It's a bit of a disgrace, really. No, I'm not going to call him what Kerry Simmons called him. I will leave that for y'all. I am not going to do that. But it was an absolute disgrace what they have done to Barbados. And with your help, we are going to make Barbados better. For everybody. For the Barbados Labour Party. For the Democratic Labour Party people that are going to vote Barbados Labour Party this time too. Because we got some maidems out there. We got some maidems who, although they might like the Democratic Labour Party because they like Errol Barrow, and we understand that. But they understand that this Democratic Labour Party is not the Democratic Labour Party of Errol Walton Barrow. Because I talk to those Dems all the time. If Errol fire all of them. But don't worry, because we can get the chance to fire all. We can fire every one of them. Because the Barbados Labour Party must be the party returned to office. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a simple fella from Dayton Road. You know, that road between Dells Road and Dalkeith. And my dad used to run a little shop out there. His name was Kenneth Duguid, for those of you who knew KD's Food Fair. And he was friendly to everybody because that is the area he grew up in. Now, I did not grow up in poverty, but my dad did. He was one of 7 children with a single mother. And he always remembered that. And it's one thing that he always taught to his 2 sons, myself and my brother. He says, never forget where you came from. And always, always, always treat every single person with respect. And that is what we have always done. You know, and I got opportunities to travel. The government paid for me to do a little studying overseas and so on. And when I was there, people wanted me to stay and say, why go back to Barbados? You have a bright career here in the UK. I told my professors, see, let me tell you something. You see those people in Barbados? They're paid for me to come here. And I have a duty and a responsibility to take my talents that they've paid for me to get and give back to them. And that is what I did for the last 27 years. I offered treatment to people whether they could pay or not. I offered help and assistance to every single person I could, irrespective of politics, because that is what my father taught me to do. And I am always happy to help the people of Barbados. I am always happy to be there to give assistance, because I know what honor, duty, and responsibility is all about. And those are the mottos that I live by. And that is so important in this day. And that's why I was so happy to open once again, the Christchurch West Constituency office in Darrells Road. The only constituency office in Christchurch West. The only one. Because it gave me a sense of honor, duty, and responsibility to my people. But I want y'all to go and take a ride down on the South Coast one of these days and see what is happening down there. You know, I called the town hall meeting and I asked the Water Authority to come and represent themselves about what is happening at the South Coast. Not a fella turned up because they said that the general manager is away and they had nobody else. But yet still, 3 days later, they had a town hall meeting about the desalination plant in Chris Sinclair constituency. You all saw that? And an acting general manager could make himself available to that. But why you can tell me that we have a town hall meeting and an acting general manager can't come? Just because the general manager away, they don't have an acting general manager. They don't have a chief engineer. They don't have a director of projects. Nobody could come and speak to the residents. But the residents of Christchurch West and Christchurch South, because Ralph Thorne was involved in it, we know what to do. They did not turn up for the town hall meeting. The people in Christchurch South and Christchurch West know what to do with them come election day. Because we are going to take care of them. If they do not care about the people, then the people will know what to do with them. But one good thing has come out of it. Because I am told, because we took that meeting to the St. Lawrence School. And we had the media there. And the media had to inhale all the hydrogen sulfide and the rotten egg smell all through that meeting. And one thing, if nothing else, because you remember, St. Lawrence School is an active school where children from 4 and 5 to 11 are going to school there. And those children had to suffer that day in and day out for months. Well, now they're saying that the St. Lawrence School will now be moving to the St. Matthias Church. And I am happy for that. Because if we hadn't had that meeting, those children would probably still have to suffer there all like now. But we brought it to their attention. We showed them what was wrong. And I am happy now that they've at least taken some action and moved the St. Lawrence School. Well, last time, when we had the press conference at the post office to close it down, still ain't open yet. And you all need to understand what the Barbados Water Authority is doing, because that is why we had that meeting. The Barbados Water Authority is digging 300-foot wells and is preparing to inject sewage into those wells. And why we had that meeting is because we are concerned that that sewage could contaminate our drinking water. Now, I'm not saying that it will, but it might. And we have to have safeguards. We have to understand the risks involved with that. Because the worst thing that could happen is that they have made a mistake, as they do from time to time. We're only human. And they have not recognized that they're tributaries to our water source, and the sewage can get into our water supply. You know what that means? You cannot drink water anymore for years in Barbados, because it would make you ill. And that is a valid concern that we wanted the Water Authority to address. Nobody turned up. But don't mind. But we will deal with them when the time comes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to get out in your numbers. I want all of you without a shadow of a doubt. I want all of you to talk to your friends, your family, your colleagues, your neighbors, every single person you could call and talk to that live in Christchurch West, and make sure that they return to Christchurch West. Because you know, billion, you hear that? $1 billion in foreign reserves for the government of Barbados. 2.7 billion. Well, I remember asking Owen Arthur, but Mr. Arthur, why you leave so much money there for the dams to lick out? And this was in 2008. And he told me, well, he was being stupid at the time. Because that is what we left. But he left what developing, because you cannot. And you know, if it was not for that 2.7 billion, which they have been living off of, where would we now? But you know, today, they have $300 million in foreign reserves in Barbados. But where the money gone? Where the money gone? Is there an airport that you could show me that the bill that use up the money? Is there a hospital that the bill that they use up the money? Is there any extensive highway that they use up the money on? But I can't understand. Where did the $2.3 billion go? I look forward to the day that we have a forensic audit in this country. I look forward to the day that we get Scotland Yard and the FBI and whoever else in here to find out where that money is. Come on, man. Where the money went to was just ridiculous. But you know, you would understand if problem that we are experiencing in this country. Listen, the Democratic Labour Party just does not know what to do, has not known what to do, and has caused this country 10 years of a lost decade. And we in Barbados and we in the Barbados Labour Party have to say enough is enough. We have had enough of them, and it is time for them to go. Ring the bell, Frandel. Good night, and God bless you all.
Another round of applause for William Duguay. That was a good opening spell, William. You set the pace for the remainder of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is one that you might not have heard from in recent times because he's no longer a candidate. But he certainly was a parliamentary representative for St. Philip South, and he was a member of cabinet in the last Barbados Labour Party administration. So it gives me great pleasure to invite on stage to address you this evening, coming from St. Philip South, Anthony Wood.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first time since late 1998, early January 1999, that I'll be addressing a gathering of this type, not in the capacity of a candidate. However, my commitment to the Barbados Labour Party and to the people of the country by extension is not diminished in any way. And I've come here this afternoon having been allotted just under 30 minutes to speak to you not as a candidate, because I'm not a candidate, but to share some thoughts with you and to plead with you. And I'm going to use a simple theme for my half-hour address of risk-taking with votes and inefficient monitoring by an electorate and the disastrous consequences of taking risks with your future. Yes, the electorate is indeed free to choose which candidate or group of candidates they need. But what has happened to this country in the last 10 years tells me clearly that Barbadians need to raise their level of consciousness and their level of awareness when it comes to political matters. There is a shift in the thinking amongst the larger numbers of Barbadians who were unfared by these criminal members of parliament for the DLP and cabinet ministers, who are now prepared to talk, who collect what for ZR permits. They're prepared to talk. They feel the Barbados Labour Party will win. They want to support us. Legal system in Barbados can be reconfigured. Those bad and misforce. It is not by accident that these the eve of an election contract to sink wells 300 feet deep, not even knowing if that is indeed the concrete solution to the problem. Because common sense will tell me, and good judgment will tell me, that if that was in, it would have been done a long, long, long time ago. So they are indeed speculating with people's health over on the South Coast. But I want warden of the Barbados Water Authority headquarters up in the Point, who that was awarded to, relative to the calling of an election. I also want you to check if descending on the constituency for which I ran in the last election, if there's anything common by way of common denominator with the distribution of $50,000, which they said they would not leave a stone unturned to ensure that this person with this brain, with this fearless speech, would not have come back to the House of Assembly. And I also want you to check if the company that is responsible for all of it, if a company on the eve of the last election did not assemble the day before the last poll to indicate to them, just to drive fear in their heart, that if the Barbados Labour Party is returned to power, I cannot guarantee you, any of you, a job tomorrow. And there is something common in all of it. The consequences of risk-taking with your vote and bad choices have caused us to be in this mess. We have a situation, and when you see a Prime Minister as incompetent as Frendel Stewart is, a Prime Minister who finds it difficult to tell the truth, the country cannot prosper. But it goes a little further than this. Could you imagine, for all the tea in China and India put together, we have a Minister of Finance who demonstrates very little competence. To none, really. In matters pertaining to economics and finance. It is as though the country has had to endure punishment, unnecessarily so. It is as though they have a hatred for Barbadians, that Frendel Stewart could keep one of the highest symbols of incompetence at such an important ministry. Now, common sense would tell me, how could a Prime Minister keep a Minister of Finance in place who is presiding? The person who has done that would have to be more foolish. Yes, I know that he's incompetent. And as a result of him being a slow learner and a slow thinker, he must be a slow speaker. Because if you don't think quick, if you don't learn fast, then you have very little to say. So his silence, I understand the rationale for his silence. Because he thinks slow and he learns slower. So he must speak slower. But at least he should have the presence of mind and judgment as a Prime Minister of any individual in God's world, to know that if a man, that you do not take an entire nation down this of interaction between the policymakers and the private sector. And the policymakers, in order to take the private sector into their confidence, they must establish what we call credibility and reputation in policymaking. But how could a man be presided over 23 downgrades, a symbol of the highest level of incompetence in Barbados, urged on by a slow thinker, a slow learner, a disgrace, a national disgrace, a regional disgrace as a Prime Minister, and he can keep this symbol of incompetence, another serial liar like Chris Sickler, in place, and we have to suffer, as I say, on the altar of economic ignorance in the case of Sickler. I mean, something has to be wrong with the thinking of these people. And because poor choices were made, and because we have not been efficiently monitoring this group of bandits, the entire country has had to suffer and continue to suffer. Well, I say to you, you have your duty higher than yourself and higher than this Barbados Labour Party to go there and mobilize as much support as possible, because they are coming with another round of monstrous lies, and they are building up their reserves to unleash it in election campaign in such a way that they have never done before, because they cannot come and bring anything of substance in defense of their stewardship. I want you to be careful. I want you to accept this plea of mine to go and bring them to justice. Make sure you dismiss them. But before I finish, I have to say a word on Ms. Ford. Cynthia was my parliamentary secretary at the Ministry of Education. You know of her competence as a member of parliament. You know she's one of the most active members of parliament, and Cynthia will do so well, love, and because she treats people so well, she will undoubtedly be returned to power. So I don't want you all give her your support, but don't fear for her. I want you to go elsewhere and get everyone out to ensure that the Barbados Labour Party candidates, wherever they are, that they are successful. We get these bandits out, we bring them to justice, and also we propel Mayor Amon Mottley to the Prime Ministership of this country. I thank you.
I really didn't want to stop you, but regrettably we are constrained by time because we have to stream all of the speakers and time is limited. So I'll have to make up some time, so I'm going to ask Sandra Husbands to start to approach. As you know, she is representing St. James South. She's a consultant and a trainer. Has a passion for working with people to enable them to develop their potential and to have the opportunity and the tools to live their best lives. Ladies and gentlemen, the next parliamentary representative for St. James South.
Barbados Labour Party, are you in the house? On board. St. James South. Oh, I love. We are to get to work on behalf of Barbados and to make Barbados work. When you are ready for work, you have to be able to give good representation. This evening, I am so pleased to be able to speak about Cynthia Ford, who is an example of what a good representative is all about. Cynthia is one of the most sincere people you could meet. When you hear Cynthia's mouth, you hear Cynthia's heart. Cynthia loves people. Cynthia is caring and kind, but Cynthia is forceful. Let me tell you, in the civil service, they don't play when Cynthia calls to get something for her constituents because they know Cynthia is not going to stop until she gets what she needs for the good people of St. Thomas. And that is why they must support her. She's not only a great representative to the people of St. Thomas, she is also a great mentor to those of us who are new to government and who are new to politics. Any one of the candidates can tell you that Cynthia is a person you can pick up the phone and call if you don't know what to do, or if you need advice, or if you need support. I know I only have to pick up a phone and immediately she can tell me who to contact. She can tell me what to do, how to approach it, and she will always, always return that call. And with Cynthia, you can always rely on her to put her people first and put Barbados first. And that is what I love about Cynthia Ford. So nothing makes Cynthia more angry and more mad than what has occurred here in Barbados and to see the suffering that has taken place among Barbadians. It makes me mad as well, because Barbadian lives matter. We only have one life, and no government has the right to so mismanage our affairs that you destroy the quality of our life, you make it difficult for us to raise our children, you make it difficult for us to hold on to our jobs, you make it difficult for us to honor our bills, and you make it difficult for us to live out our reality. It is wrong. What is James South? Let me tell you, like the rest of Barbados, government has taxed their allowances, tax, the property tax, the fuel surcharges. But you know what else is a great hardship to the people in St. James South? They raise professional fees. if you are a physiotherapist, if you are an engineer, if you're an electrician, it makes it difficult for people to make a living. They raised shop, and now they have raised the NSRL. And that's the report from the Public Accounts Committee. I started to buy so they can get more money to waste it. When Mia said that we will take off the NSRL, that the removal of the NSRL makes good sense, and I want to explain why. $1 every month to take care of your children's needs for milk. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to buy 2 cartons of milk instead of 3, correct? So instead of spending $20, now you're going to spend $14, correct? So immediately, the impact is going to be felt in your home. Your children will have less milk. But the shopkeeper will also suffer because he's accustomed to you spending, because he cannot afford to keep his staff, because his income too has dropped. So therefore, people go home, cannot take care of their families because the places where they work cannot afford to keep them. That's an impact of the NSRL. But it doesn't stop there. It affects government revenue. Because government would normally be looking forward to tax on $20. They now only get taxed on 14. So it does not make good economic sense. What they have done is they have choked the economy. And that is why Mia Amor Mottley removed when we get to office will be the removal of that. And you used to, you don't find yourself maxing out your credit cards. The supermarket line, when you're going up, you hope you have enough money, you hope enough on the card. You don't be putting in and taking out and putting in and taking out and so on and so on. You don't be putting off things and pray God you don't get a flat tire, because if you get a flat tire at all, you're gone. This is what has been happening to people in Barbados. Families are under tremendous pressure and they're hanging on by a thread. By a thread. So when Cynthia gets mad about these things, it is with good cause. So Cynthia don't pull any punches, you know. When Cynthia is in Parliament, I love to listen to the parliamentary debates. I try not to miss them because I want to learn how you do that level of debating to represent the interests of people. And Cynthia don't play around. When they come round, you can hear Cynthia's mouth all through the presentation, telling them what they're doing wrong, what they're saying wrong. She does not pull any punches. It doesn't matter who it is either. I've heard her go after Lowe. I've heard her go after Boyce. I've heard her go after Lashley. And she's gone after my boy Innes. She don't miss. And Innes needs to, because this man is the fact that he does not perform. As a minister, St. James South started to smell a rat. On brass tacks, I'll never forget this. There was a moderator who was on, and this moderator was saying how much they admire and like him, and he's one of the go-getter ministers and so on. And the caller asked her, what has he done? So she stuttered. And the man said again, what has he done? She started talking about all the things he talks about. He said, no. What has he done? And when she scrambled around in her head to figure out what he had done, the only thing she could come up with was that he had computerized the records at the Ministry of Commerce. I wanted to laugh. $30 million he gets every year, and all he could get done was computerizing records at the Ministry of Commerce when there was so much other work to do. And you can only conclude by looking at his record that this man is utterly useless when it comes to advancing the interests of Barbados, and utterly useless when it comes to rescue his way through the Ministry of Health. When he first sent the signal to Barbados, I am here and I'm big and I'm bad. But when the portico at Queen Elizabeth Hospital and established 2 hostesses to grow, but then he was going to be able to cut $25 million from his budget by altering the drug program. And he set about in a slash and burn methodology, took off medications, brought on new medications that were less effective. Some of those medications actually made people ill. Some of those medications did not work. And then he took from off of the formulary the medications that really work for Barbadians. Now, when he took them from the formulary, it meant that those medications would attract VAT and attract duties at the port. So an item that government paid $25 for, the public would now have to pay $65 for it. That was what was wicked about that drug reform program. Because if there had been any care about the health of Barbadians, the government could have continued to let it come in free of duty and let the people pay the $25. They would still be able to live. But instead, you have senior citizens who have to decide between food and medication. You have people who are dividing their medication. There are people who are making themselves ill simply because they cannot afford the medication, thanks to Don Villinis. So he's been utterly useless in advancing health care in this country. But as Minister of International Business, the record is even more dismal. He has not only presided over the decline of the industry, it is now in stagnation. An industry that brought in over $400 million to the Barbados economy every year dwindled all the way down to under $100 million a year. So when the country needed him most to produce, so that foreign exchange would be there and we wouldn't have the form, because he is all about talk, no action. So he has been utterly useless in saving this vice it is in. And if he cannot run the Ministry of Commerce, but my greatest problem with him is when it comes to my babies. Small business. I love small business with all of my heart, because small business gives people the opportunity to live out their dreams and their hopes. It gives people a chance to participate in wealth. It gives people a chance to feel that they're contributing to the well-being of their country. It gives people an opportunity to make a mark on the international stage. And this minister has neglected small business big time. Big time. But I'm not surprised, because his prime minister said that the promises that they put in a manifesto are only words of intent. They are not a contract. So when they made a set of promises to the small business sector, and I have them here, they promised energy fund, not done. Will establish a $10 million loan guarantee leather process for the allocation of vending space across Barbados. Not done. Provide for the development of the subsector by providing facts for the condiment sector. Not done. Assist small businesses in meeting international. No use. Representation is a serious undertaking. I take it seriously. I take it seriously. Because people's lives depend on me giving them the leadership that they need to succeed in their lives, to succeed in whatever endeavor I'm giving them leadership in. And because I take that seriously, I believe that a person must come to office with their heart set in the right place, with people at the center of their being. And that is the reason why I joined the Barbados Labour Party, because the Barbados Labour Party has at its center the people of Barbados. A manifesto is a contract for us. This is how we were trained. Our former leaders trained us that if you promise some, must deliver it. And heard and over again. Something unless office, everything we do, everything we say will be every Barbadian. I'm asking every person in St. James South, this next election is going to be about your return. Vote for the Barbados Labour Party.
Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you don't know that player, and she plays some heavy notes here tonight. Well done, sucking to the top, because the next speaker is one of the longest serving members of Parliament, certainly for the Barbados Labour Party, hailing from Cycle North.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't aware that you were allowed to bring the fanfare on the stage on any platform alone again. But I didn't know. This school hall is really quite familiar to me because every year almost I come here to address the graduation of the Eden Lodge Primary School. And so therefore, speaking here this evening really is not at all new for me. As we are in school, I just want to say a little bit about education because you have to agree that the atmosphere in schools now is changing considerably. Almost every day, some children from one school involved with something with students from the same school or students from another school. Sometimes violence taking place in the school itself, to the point where now our schools are actually being classified as unsafe places. Can you imagine that we have lived to see the day when this is the first 6 estimates presented over a 5-year period? First time. And it's not only unprecedented, but it's wrong. Because it means that the government is seeking to take control over a financial year which begins on April 1st, 2018 and ends on March 31st, 2019, even though they may not get a mandate to govern for that period. So they cannot assume that they are going to form the next government. In fact, we know that they will not be forming the next government. So it is insulting to be treating the people of Barbados in this way. But they will say, and I have to concede it's true, that the Constitution permits them to do that. So they are operating according to the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law. But even so, they can say it is constitutional. So let me move to my next point about this and this delay. Because after the 5th of March next month, when Parliament dissolves, every single minister is going to continue to function as a minister with full power and authority as a minister as though nothing at all has changed. That's a fact. Now, there are 3 arms of the state. There's the executive, which is the cabinet. There's the legislature, which is Parliament, and there's the judiciary. But Parliament, the legislature, not only serve as a check and balance on the actions of the executive, meaning Parliament is supposed to serve as a check and balance on how ministers behave and what they do. But after the 5th of March, Parliament ceases to play any role at all or to have any power at all because it ceases to exist for all practical purposes. Now, my concern is that after the 5th of March, the Minister of Finance can exercise I want to refer you particularly to Section 6 and other payments exemption Act taking exemption from the payment of any juvenile money. So the Minister of Parliament is not going to be able to do
money. The parents say so, not me. So I want you, ladies and gentlemen, to really understand where we are in Barbados today. And to know that the stability of this country will come through the Barbados Labour Party again. Did in 1976 had astute leadership under our core. We welcome all of you to this beautiful parish. We meet here from St. Thomas and otherwise. And I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, we told you not to look at the Dems in 2008. We in the Barbados Labour Party are really reeling under the pressure as most Barbadians are. The people of St. Thomas are hard-working, dedicated people and in the slave trade before that, to help to make Barbados the safe place that it had been until 2008 when the Democratic Labour Party gave you the pie in the sky promises and Barbadians jumped and held on to them. Today, the profession is in the worst state ever of teachers. The police are reeling under the press, seeking a little something because they have families. Under the Barbados Labour Party, you could buy a little bottle of wine. You could have taken your part. Where the Labour Party people were in. The Democratic Labour Party has voted the Labour Party, sent home all the beautified, sent home those young to employment 10 and 12 years, and then our policies and programs embrace all and sundry, old and young, rich and the poor, black and white. But these people have come in having come with black and white people. Look back, the hell the white people are though. Let them see, you will see who the orators at Parliament. Sometimes you see them up there sitting in the gallery, waiting. I believe they're waiting like hawks for the next contract. I don't know. They didn't tell me. I know that there's some that every single chair in our schools now comes through the tall to Barbados or the Democratic Labour Party, because that 40% of the services will come. The only 40% we're getting is the 40% from the project with the Chinese up in Sam Law. Masons, Democratic Labour Party. They destroyed my people and your people when they decapitated urban and rural development. Toilet bowls, the thing windows, like the Oran windows and so, things that would last. Today, he still has some of the things at his house. From day one of the Democratic Labour Party coming in, they did not only decapitate the two institutions, and the carpenter, he got contracts all in St. Thomas, down Rock, all the work. I'm buried here. I'm talking like 2050. NCC workers went home were penalized because they felt they come from the north and they vote for the BLP. I have roads in St. Thomas, ladies and gentlemen, comrades all. Bloomsbury Road, ready to collapse like that hole on White Hill. Not a touch from Michael Lashley, but he's up in St. Philip and in Christchurch and St. Michael, fixing every road. And we are up here with potholes where people are destroying their vehicles, breaking up their feet and stumping out their toes. Nothing coming from them. No wells are being cleared, so every place is flooding. Rural people, particularly running from St. Thomas down to St. Lucie, are suffering under this DLP. And there are two more things I want to bring home to you before I leave. 40-acre. I wrote officially to the Honourable Minister in 2009, asking him to acquire some spots at 40-acre. 47 spots were compulsorily acquired. You know, St. Thomas people didn't get one, although they apply. Not even the people living in the back of that same 40-acre. Dennis Kellman gave them to whom he felt like. But you know, this time, so 3-4 months from now, I want him to go and weigh all the food that he could have. View neighborhood project. Colonel Bostic had in Greenfields, Cat's Castle, the garden land will Allen $60 million Barbados dollars from the IADB. The Labour Party conceived the project, and all Thompson and Lashley did was to go up to Washington and sign on the dotted line. I believe it would have been in February, March 2008. You know, to this day, none of those communities. When I went to Greenfields and I saw the squalor, I almost cried. When I go in Allen View, you cannot build any new houses. You can expand if you are given permission by town planning. But in there is in a mess. They need that sewage project. They need roads and lanes to lead to their houses. This government, with its incompetence, had to repatriate 47 million Barbados dollars to the IADB. 6 years elapsed, and they did not spend the money on poor people in Barbados, in Cat's Castle, in the Garden Land, in Allen View, and in Greenfields are at a worse condition now that the NSRL and the extra amount is put on to VAT, and people have lost their work, and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital quacking at the seams. It is wrong. They're giving me a red light, so I'm going to wrap up. I got to wrap up, though, because I I already obey rules. I was a Cub Scout leader. I was a Brownie leader. And we in the Barbados Labour Party believe in good discipline and good governance. So I will conform. Except to say, they agreed to the police station that now Sir David had acquired. Thank you. Oh, the red light only to say it belongs to the Labour Party. That is why it's bright and red. Proper. Proper. Thank you, darling. 10 minutes can help me to fix up Frondel. Somebody who was overseas last week attended the function. I was told they had 75 people there. And that the people in New York and so grumbling and grumbling, eating the fine clothes. All they're looking at is philanthropy. Philanthropy. Walking about begging all the damn time. And the resources ain't coming into Barbados to reach you, the poor people, in the various institutions. I don't know where it is going. And I did not say it has gone into anybody's pocket. But I know the people in St. Thomas and the rest of Barbados ain't get none. The police strict D to be properly housed in an environment that David Simmons, now Sir David, may the Lord bless him. He looks so good for 75 Fundel. You can't match David Simmons. So good for his age. So brilliant, so sharp. But he has always been. I can't tell you Fundel always was. But do you know, those buggers went ahead, had demitted office, but had sent back the drawings to include in a form, and you know the usual things that how the glebe has a little post office and a little teller machine and all that. They turned this all up there in kindergarten. So Cynthia body, they didn't tell me nothing. Talking like a tongue girl, they didn't tell me nothing. Come to the old people, they expect from her. Absolutely no dialogue with the residents of St. Thomas. None. But they had up a sign, and they did not even finish putting on the logo, and the sign got taken down. But you know what? They have found some inaccuracies in that area. And I understand that what should have been $13.5 million is probably nearly 39 now. Cost overruns. Times, I want the police to have secure places to work. I want the police to be able to get the equipment and the resources, because without them in any society, we cannot go any further. But it's not going to be at all costs, though. Those buggers, and I do not apologize for calling them that, have up there in kindergarten, when I passed just now, 2 or 3 lily white tanks. I hope the wind blow away tonight. 2 or 3 lily white tanks to officially open that police station tomorrow, and not an invitation to me or anybody in the parish. None. Leave them alone. The name on the police station will be all the Dems will get. And we, the people of St. Thomas, will work assiduously to make sure that we hold together, embrace the police, and make sure we level crime in this parish. I am not putting a foot there tomorrow. Nobody will call me on my cell phone and say it was an oversight, because they did it with the Barbados Labour Party with the installation of the new Governor General. Next day, someone getting on a toll. That is not protocol. A government must manage and not. All like now, there is no sidewalk. So when the hundreds of people are going up to that police station, Bees Bottle on the other side of the road, another story. And these people cannot walk on the same side that it is on. When I passed, I saw a temporary light. What do you call the temporary thing that the light and power give you for electricity? A temporary electricity thing they're operating on with the last 2 months. Working day and night, morning and evening, to bring it to close, because it was to be open on the 3rd of January. And then I heard it was the 10th of January. And of course, Frooms want a name on it. And Adria want a name on it too. So it got pushed back now to the 26th. I'm sorry that they didn't go down to April the 1st, All Fools Day. Want for them to be accountable. No files will be burned. Don't forget, Ronald Jones told the people of Barbados in Parliament one day that he is angry with civil servants who are not serving the government well, the new government. They are taking files down to the port and burning them in the incinerator down there. Don't carry no file from the Garden police station down there. Don't burn any files. I want Scotland Yard in Barbados. I want the FBI. I don't want them to burden our police officers because you don't know who might want to coerce them. And if they ain't getting no money, they get little money, they get no allowances, people may be inclined to. But our police officers are right people. And I support them 1,000% because they're doing a fantastic job with limited resources. And finally, St. Thomas the dumping ground. Oh, Lord have mercy. I would like to see who in here will vote for the Dems, though. They have built that police station right opposite the biggest, nastiest looking dump in the whole of St. Thomas and in Barbados. These bottles is a travesty. And they have put the police station there but have not made or put any corrective measures in place to move it from there and take it over the landfill area that Dennis Lowe promised it would happen October 2013. He said in Parliament, these bottles will move in October. To this day, it is still there. I'm not telling you it doesn't bring in foreign exchange. I'm not telling you it doesn't help with employment. But it is a scourge to the sight of people. And it is a terrible, terrible thing for the rodents and the vermin. And then the property owners down there are losing. It is depreciating the properties because those people had their beautiful homes, 35, 40 years they were living there, now to be faced with that. And then when you look at the police station, the magistrate's looking down there on squalor. It is wrong. The mangrove landfill, we know that. You know what they did with me last year? The molasses that the rich man moved from that, the port or whoever you're assigned to do it, they put it up in Mount Wilton and St. Thomas on my side, and they trickle right into Coles Cave and up there to Lake Tarzan. Degradation, and they talk about, oh, we're talking about environmentally sound, economically viable, and all these different fussy buzzwords that ain't saying a damn thing. In the understanding of you Barbadians and I who went to school and learned, never mind if you learned a little bit, you will still understand it is madness what they talk. Buses, one bus every 4 hours. Up there in Sturgis, that's how they're treating St. Thomas people. The Tassie project is like Michael Lashley, a waste of time. It has gone nowhere but destroy our lives and that of our little children who have to take the bus going to and fro. Sanitation, 1 pickup per month. Sometimes you might get one every 3 weeks. Water outages, well, you know that's another story. And the bills are high. Agriculture gone to the dogs. I want to praise Mr. Edgell over at Duke's Tenantry Plantation, or Duke's Plantation, who has offered 30 acres of land to the government 5 years ago, and they are now bringing measures of that project to fruition. I thank Dr. Agara, who heard me speak about it in a very negative way, and I had an opportunity to see the rolling out of it. The Chinese, again, has funded it with a $30 million amount. I want for Barbadians to benefit, pick up the knowledge and the skills, because I want to see projects of that nature replicate not only St. Thomas, but the length and breadth of Barbados, because we must feed ourselves and cut down on that import bill. I don't mind James Paul. He talk a whole lot of trash on the radio today. Can't deal with him now. Poverty is the final one. I got a WhatsApp message yesterday. People with problems paying the water bill and so on. No work, no money. Friday evening, I had a bad experience. Families with nothing to eat. Cheryl, I'm not going to speak to it in detail. But hunger, because there's no work, because there's no money. And I know that there are decent people who have now to resort to all kinds of nefarious actions in order to survive. And you know what hurts most? Poor people have now been made poorer under this Democratic Labour Party who said, pathways to progress. Let that dead man don't know. God is sleeping. Pathways to progress. And do you progress down? Or do you progress up? I'm not so sure because I didn't go to school much. Thank God for Lester Vaughan though. Barbadians are now at the lowest ebb, eking out whatever little bit they have to pay the utility bills, and then little or nothing to eat. It is wrong. And when I go over by the cenotaph, when I go to Parliament, any evening after 5:30, I am the kind of person I internalize pain. When it comes to other people's pain, I don't have any because I have no man. So I internalize other, and that is not an invitation for any of you men in here. Season settled. I internalize people's pain when they are discomforted, whether it be a marital relationship go wrong, or loss of employment, or can't find food to eat, or can't feed the children, whatever. And therefore, I have seen some experiences recently where single women in particular, and they are working class women, cannot meet the demands because they've either lost their work, or there have been divorces or separations from partners, whether it be husband or whatever. And therefore, they are now trying to rely on whom? Uncle, cousin, brother, and more particularly, mother and grandmother. And this government came in and spoke about pensions and took away one of the pensions from senior citizens. My sister went straight into early dementia in 2012 May when this Democratic Labour Party took away one of her 2 pensions. And all she kept saying, my husband is dead, my children are no longer here, and what am I going to do? I used to keep that money to pay my land tax because Belgians love to pay their taxes. I used to keep it to help me improve the quality of my house, put on a little paint and thing, any little thing, or do a little plumbing. I used to keep it to pay my house insurance. $500. This poor man had because they've missed 3 months because we brought in a bunch of strangers in here who don't understand the Barbadian culture. And they seem to think that every house that is up for sale must go to one of their own, and Barbadians must be this. Finally, the lights are there. I can't even.
I want to say to you, Woody, and all the former parliamentarians who have remained with us as well, offering guidance, offering wisdom, offering support. This party is unique. This party is special. And parliamentarians from years ago are still with us today, helping us along the way. And we want to say thank you also to them. But the journey is not yet over. We still have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen. We are depending on you, the foot soldiers, the rank and file, to continue to walk with us, to walk in front of us, to walk behind us, and to walk for us. Because we need you to push us. We need to get home. We need to seal the deal. We need to win this election, ladies and gentlemen. But it is not going to end on election day. This country is going through some very dark and dangerous times. And we have to remain steadfast. The work starts after the election victory is won. We are living in some hard times, ladies and gentlemen, some difficult and challenging times. But we will remain steadfast. We will remain committed. And no matter what we find when we are returned to office, we will take command of the situation. We will take responsibility for the situation. We will face it and we will fix it. That's the difference between the DLP and the Barbados Labour Party. I say that to you because I mean it. And Mayor Amor Mottley and her team will be faced with difficult and challenging times. But Grantley Adams faced difficult and challenging times and he overcame Tom Adams faced difficult and challenging times, and he overcame. Owen Arthur faced difficult and challenging times, and he overcame. Mayor Mottley and her team, we face difficult and challenging times, but Lord knows we shall overcome. We shall overcome, and we will face it, and we will fix it. And you must remain with us. You must push us to do well and to do the right things for the people who live in your gap, the people who live in your neighborhood, the people who live in your boxes, the people who live in your constituency, whether they're B, D, U, or Z, they are Barbadians, and you must push us so that we do the right things on their behalf. And I tell you, I'm very happy to be part of this team at this time, because I like challenges as well. And we will overcome, man. We will work this out. We will do it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any more time, but I'll tell you this. St. Andrew has a mayor. Bridgetown has a sheriff. That's me. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite on stage the only Marshal, man, the Marshal of St. Joseph, Dale Marshall.
Nine days to go. 9 days to go. And the Democratic Labour Party thinks that they can do in 9 days what they have not done in 10 whole years. If that is not the attitude of a madman, then I do not know what a madman is. And what is worse is that in these last 9 days, we are seeing a frightened and desperate Democratic Labour Party. Owen Arthur had called them wild boys. And if you watch the debate in Parliament on Friday, you would have come away being able to conclude only that what was said about them then was 100% true. 9 days, not a long time. And our Constitution allows Frandel, unfortunately, to add another 90 to that. So in his head, he is counting 99 days. But my grandmother always said that day does run till night catch it. And I want, from this platform in St. Thomas tonight, to remind the Democratic Labour Party that for as many days as they have, every morning means 1 day less, and Dale Marshall can count. And when I talk about the desperation that we are seeing, in the Democratic Labour Party, we know that their only interest now is in how best they can try to win the next election. I understand that the shredders are already working. You know, last election, they went into various government departments because they were expecting to lose, and they shredded up all the documents that they felt a Barbados Labour Party administration would be able to use to deal with them. And I understand that they're planning to start shredding any day now. But we are ahead of the game. And you would know that I was not originally on the lineup to speak tonight. But I have been asked by our leader, Mayor, to talk with you briefly about what happened on Friday and about this thing called the Public Accounts Committee that the Democratic Labour Party is so afraid of. every single democratic country in the world has in place a mechanism for overseeing how governments spend the people's money. England, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, you name it, every democratic country in the world. And it isn't so much a question of not trusting our political leaders, though to tell you the truth, I don't trust anybody in this bunch. It is about the need for the public to have an opportunity to see how their finances are being spent. It is about oversight. And this Public Accounts Committee is first of all enshrined in the Standing Orders of Parliament, which says there'll be a Public Accounts Committee. And under that particular order, 7 people make up the committee. But let me take you back to the glory days when the Barbados Labour Party was in power. First of all, during our 14 years, you would remember that the Democrat Labour Party called us thieves. They said we were corrupt, we did this thing wrong, we did the next thing wrong. And at no time at all did the Democratic Labour Party summon a public accounts meeting. Now, the way the Public Accounts Committee has always worked is that the opposition has the responsibility for the committee. So we were in power, and we were doing well. We were getting cursed by the Dems. They were saying that we were doing all kinds of things wrong, but they never called a meeting of the Public Accounts Committee to investigate how we were spending the people's money. And in 2003, Owen Arthur recognized that there was a weakness, and he and Mia drafted new legislation which gave the opposition full authority over the committee. So it went from a group of 7 to a group of 13, and the statute, the Public Accounts Committee Act, says that a quorum consists of 5 people. 2003. You think that David Thompson will use it once? He walked up and down Barbados calling us crooks of all kinds, calling us corrupt, but at no time did he use the mechanism of the Public Accounts Committee. He preferred to go in the gutter. He preferred innuendo and rumor when he had a tool at his disposal that he could have used. But not once in 14 years did they use it. We lost the government, as you know, in 2008, and we gave them enough time to get about their business. But it became clear to us very early that there was wrongdoing going on with the people's money. And it was especially clear when the Auditor General said in 2013 that $2.29 million in transfers was going to the National Housing Corporation every single month. Not $2.29 million in the year. Every single month, the National Housing Corporation was getting, and the Barbados Labour Party said, we are going to investigate this. And the Democratic Labour Party at every single turn obstructed us. They found every excuse to obstruct us. But we persevered. Because we knew that there was wrongdoing going on, and that as the servants of the people, we had a solemn obligation not to scandalmonger, but to look at what was going on so that we could report first to Parliament and then to the people. Now, I want to remind you that the Democratic Labour Party manifesto in 2008 said that they were promising good governance. They were promising transparency. They were promising accountability. They were promising participatory democracy. All of these things they were promising. But somehow when it came to the Public Accounts Committee, none of those things worked. They threw all of those high-sounding principles outside of the window. When the committee started to meet, the first thing they said was that we had no jurisdiction to meet. Well, we dealt with that. But then the next stumbling block had to do with whether we could stream the proceedings of the committee live. Now, let me tell you that in England, there is a television channel that is dedicated to public accounts meetings. So you can turn on your TV in your house and watch the proceedings of the Public Accounts Committee live. In Australia, you can watch it live on television. In Canada, it is streamed on the internet, much like our meeting is being streamed now, because they take the people's business seriously. But you know what happened? The Democratic Labour Party did not like the fact that the things that they were doing were being exposed to public view. Now, the Act says that the proceedings of the committee shall be public. Now, Parliament is streamed live. Streamed live. Some parts of Parliament you can turn on your TV and watch. But somehow or another, the Public Accounts Committee wasn't good enough for the people to know what was happening. Well, when they realized that their dirty deeds were being exposed, they ran to Parliament and said, we have had enough, we are going to repeal this act. So the very next week, it is the fastest work the Attorney General ever did. It was called a bill to repeal the Public Accounts Act, and it had one line: the Public Accounts Act is hereby repealed. It was in Parliament the very next week. And they were holding it over our heads as if to say, not another step. But you know, Barbados Labour Party, the B also mean brave. And you know from the way we have to fight them in Parliament every week that we meet, that there's no shortage of bravery in the Barbados Labour Party. And we pressed on. We pressed on. They wouldn't come to meetings. When they came, they obstructed the meeting. The chairman of the National Housing Corporation was summoned. Now, any who know about court means that when you get summons, it don't mean if it's convenient to you and you got 10 minutes, you can pass. That's how you invite people to effect. The chairman of the National Housing Corporation received 12 summonses. And he did not show up for a single meeting. Now tell me if that does not sound like content to you. But the reason he could decide he is not showing up to any meeting is because he knew that all of his comrades in the bosom of the Democratic Labour Party would look at him and smile. You want to know how we know that? A man named David Eswick brandished a firearm at me. The matter was reported to the Royal Barbados Police Force, and up to today, not a thing has happened. It was reported to the Committee of Privileges of Parliament. And they found every possible way to obstruct that. His soul is at rest. That's my personal belief. He at the time thought it was mock sport. So it is no surprise that they would want to treat the Public Accounts Committee in this way. But ladies and gentlemen, we went where they did not think we dared to go. We looked into... Remember that everybody in Barbados had the forensic audit of Clico, except him. It was blowing all around Bridgetown, blowing in the Careenage. Everybody had it. His excuse was, it has not yet reached my desk. So I am sure that you've seen the report of the Public Accounts Committee, and you have read it, and you are disturbed at the findings, and the only body who will not have seen it, we hear, is Don Villinis, and Richard Seeley, and Christopher Sinclair, and the people and Frandel Stewart. Now this is serious business. And you need to ask whoever from the Democratic Labour Party crosses the shadow of your front window or door, what is it that you are afraid of? If your hands are clean, then you should have no reason to object to the report. Michael Lashley, if your hands are clean, you should not have any reason to object to the report. And Christopher Sinclair, well, Chris packing so many clothes baskets with food that he's too busy to deal with these things. But if their hands are clean, they have nothing to be afraid of. But their excuse now is that he didn't get the email. So what? Every week I get an email from Parliament telling me Parliament will meet on Tuesday at 10. I don't open it, but it don't stop Parliament from meeting on Tuesday at 10. And if I do not go, that is my problem, but I have received notice. But Don Villene says he didn't get the notice. The email does not come from Mayor Mottley's office. It doesn't come from Kerry Simmons' office, Dale Marshall's office, Jerome Walker's office. But you know what? It suits him because he wants, not just him, the entire Democratic Labour Party wants to find a way to push this under the carpet. You know why? If any of us speak about the contents of the report before it is laid in Parliament, we are guilty of contempt. And they could send the police for me. Well, let them send them. Kerry Simmons tell me already tonight that he willing to go up jail cause he know it's me and me that bill it. So let them send the police. Michael Carrington, you send the police for me, Kerry, Mia, and Cynthia already. Send them again tonight. What is it that they are trying to hide? What? And they have the most feeble of excuses. Every Barbadian who will have read that report will know that what is in that report is damning to the reputation and the credibility of Michael Lashley. It is damning to the reputation and credibility of Dennis Kellman. It is damning to the reputation and credibility of every single government minister who had anything to do with any of the stuff that we looked into. But you can hide and buy land. 9 days to go. Because even if we cannot talk about it publicly, then once those 9 days are up, we can say whatever we want without fear of any condemnation from a soul. Now, this begins to show the distinction between the Democratic Labour Party and the Barbados Labour Party. You see, the Dems are full of a bunch of scarce to Labour people. That's what my mother-in-law would call them, scarce to Labour. They don't like to do any work. They parade around in their shirt jacks, trying to look cool. They're kept cool by the air conditioning units in the Mercedes and the Audis and all those kind of things. But they do not and have not driven a stroke for the people of this country in 10 years. You know, if a boat got a hole in the bottom, somebody in the boat will be bailing out the water. And somebody else in the boat will be ruined. And Naval will be in the pantry organizing a little meal. That is how the Barbados Labour Party knows to work, cooperatively as a team for the greater good. But What you have now is the Democratic Labour Party and every man for himself. The ministers of the Democratic Labour Party were summoned before the committee. Not one of them ain't show up yet. Not one of them ain't show up yet. But they want to tell you that for them, they take the high ground. Well, let me wrap up. I have to wrap up. I have to wrap up. Say you gotta wrap up. But let me wrap up by sharing with you a story about the high ground. A man named Dennis Holder ran against me in St. Joseph. His candidacy was announced by the Democratic Labour Party a whole year before the election. At that time, he was a teacher at a school in Belle Plaine, at a government school in Belle Plaine. And some people like Caswell Franklin, well known and loved in St. Thomas, pointed out to the government, hold on a minute, this man is a public servant. And he's not supposed to be running in an election or declared as a candidate so long as he's a public servant. Well, Ronald Jones stooped so low you could hear it down bottom of Broad Street. And every single day, my opponent went to teach at that primary school, and then he would go on canvas, and then he would speak at political meetings, and he would curse me and George Payne and all of us. And the only time that that gentleman respected the rules of this country was on the day before nomination day. Dennis Holder spoke at political meetings in Belle Plaine. He lambasted me, everybody, but he draw his salary every single month. A man, a fine gentleman, named Charles Griffith, spoke at a BLP community meeting last Sunday night. By Tuesday morning, that fine young man, Charles Griffith, received a letter from his superior in the ministry telling him that he was breaching the rules and that the matter was going to be referred to the permanent secretary. I want you to understand the point I'm trying to make. Dennis Holder broke the rules. He flaunted our rules for over a year. But as far as the Dems were concerned, he was one of them. So it did not matter. So anything is allowable as long as they do it. But a man could write Charles Holder and effectively threaten his job, Charles Griffith, and effectively threaten his job 2 days after he spoke. They do not know anything about consistency, about loyalty, or about honor. And the behavior that we are seeing with them as it relates to our Public Accounts Committee is the same behavior that we are seeing with them in relation to Charles Griffith, and it is the same behavior that we are seeing in relation to you, because they can do what they like, because they feel that they can always get away with it. But 9 days to go. Good night and God bless.
Yes, love and not hatred. Those on the outside, one last opportunity to come on the inside as we await the boss. The boss is here and she is ready to take the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite you to give a rousing welcome to the political leader of the Barbados Labour Party, the leader of the opposition, the next Prime Minister of Barbados, a leader who can mix with kings and queens and feel comfortable on the blocks with the boys, a leader who cares of transforming, taking us to places and heights that we've never been before. That leader is Mia Amor Mottley, undisputed, the sole leader of the person who's going to seal the deal, the real McCoy, like fine wine, still batting strong. Yes, keep it going. She deserves it. She'll be here shortly. And let her know in no uncertain terms that she has our support, our full support. We are with you, Mia. We will remain with you. We will fight the fight with you. We will fight in the trenches to get rid of this Democratic Labour Party government. You don't have to look back. We are behind you. We are with you. This is the queen of the night. A woman and a half. A woman that likes to work. A leader who can get things done, who can make a difference, with a team that supports her to the end. A team of talented young people and seasoned veterans. Mia Amor Mottley. We can do it. Mia Amor Mottley. The boss lady has arrived. The next phoenix. She will take us through. She will take us home. Ladies and gentlemen, Mia Amor Mottley.
They don't mind. I want you to queue up for me at the end. The one I spoke to you about last night. Y'all sure that we in February? Y'all sure? Because you know I am going to have a problem. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have a problem with you all in October. Because you all are setting some records for out of season. That when this party comes together in its highest decision-making function, you can't be bringing the numbers that you were bringing before. Because every Sunday night in these school halls now we are exceeding numbers that we see in annual conference at the height. And there are as many people outside as there are inside the hall. I want to thank and salute my colleagues who have spoken this evening from this platform. And I really do. Because this evening and from here on in, we will come to see the difference between what we offer and what they have on show. And I use humility. And we do it because we understand that it is about service. We are not at Lester Vaughan by accident this evening. We're at Lester Vaughan on purpose. And to be able to show Barbadians the contrast. We're at Lester Vaughan because in every generation, there is always one who hits the gold standard of representation. In the generation of Grantley Adams, in the generation of Errol Barrow, in the generation of Tom Adams, there's always somebody who, not us politicians, but the people of Barbados say, have reached that gold standard when it comes to representation. Say that I belong to a generation where Cynthia Ford has outstripped every other member of Parliament when it comes to representation of her people. And it is that contrast that you have before you this evening as compared to perhaps what is for me one of the saddest moments in public office as a Barbadian. I don't take delight in belonging to a class of people who have done their best to bring disrepute to the class. I really don't. I don't take delight at the fact that I have had to work with others, to see some things and to read some things and to hear. And that 40 years old ought to know better and ought not to tolerate this kind of behavior. I came to you last week and I told you, measure my back. It is broad. Donville clearly didn't get the message. But you see, he wanted to send a message too. And he knows that if I stood up on Friday and I simply said, I am commanded to lay, or I give notice rather, to the Public Accounts Committee report 2013-2018 and sat down, a whole bunch of people might not have heard what I said in those 7 or 8 seconds. He knew that his interest lies in the full ventilation of that report. And he best will tell the country why he has chosen to make noise about a report where the rules of Parliament are so clear. And to take his colleagues, including the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, down a line that is so amazing. You know, when you want somebody to know about something, what you do? Make a lot of noise. Make a lot of mess. All of a sudden, the body that wasn't watching that corner, now everybody wonder, wait, what's going on over there? What happened? And what we now have is a clear example of everybody wanting to know what is in that report. Well, I have come here tonight to tell you, begin to process. But the process has not ended. And I have come to tell you that the Speaker of the House does not have a discretion in these matters? Because the rules of the House of Assembly make it clear. And I am not talking from memory now. I am talking from the rules. Rules Order 62 of the Standing Orders. Rule number 2, a report of a special report, and this is under select committees. A report or a special report together with the minutes of proceedings of a select committee shall be presented to the House by the chairman. Presented to the House by the right. Or other member deputed by the committee. And listen to this now. And shall be ordered, shall, not may, shall be ordered to lie upon the table, that's the table of the clerks, and be printed without question put. Do you understand what those rules say? That there's no debate, that there is no question about this thing being printed, and that the speaker or the deputy speaker, as they are in the chair, has a duty to make a copy for all of you in this country. Is that clear? Instead of that, the deputy speaker came back and told you that what happened when I put that. Well, I don't know if... And I know that only to tell the country, y'all better get some pressure to find out what is in that report. Because everything he said in the paper today, he said on Friday. And everything Friday. And I will only leave these emails for you because these emails show. I don't know what patriotbb2@gmail stands for. That is Don Vallinis, I'm told. I don't know who he's being a patriot to. But every one of them were given notice. February 6th of the meeting. February 8th, the draft report. No, I'm not getting into the discussion tonight because I want you to understand something. No one or nobody is going to rush me to discuss what I have to discuss. And I want the people of Barbados to be fully in tune with what is in this report before we start to discuss the contents of this report. The people of Barbados will want to know, who is it? Who could in 2013 be a minister of government to tell a lie on a cabinet decision of this country's highest executive decision-making body? Who could be in a cabinet and tell a lie about what? And could that possibly have happened days before the last general elections? Could that possibly come from a minister of the crown? We're not talking about a vagrant. Vagrants don't tell lies. We're talking about somebody who has sworn to uphold the law. Could that person have written a chairman and told them something completely different from what the cabinet decision came out and said happened 3 weeks later? Who is the minister? Who is the minister that sought to terminate a contract for millions of dollars, saying that the cabinet said it should be done? Who is the minister that purported to sign and say that this contract at the Grotto can go the month before the election was called, but signed without the Attorney General or the Solicitor General signing off. But signed without the Cabinet agreeing that the contract could move from $18 million to $27.8 million, an increase of almost $10 million before an election is to be called. Who is that minister? Is that the same minister as the first minister I asked you about? Or is that another minister? And who is the chairman that is still a chairman tonight to receive these letters, to tell them that a contract should be signed to give away over 2,000 housing lots 3 days before an election in this country? Who is that chairman? Is that chairman now responsible for more money tonight than he was 5 years ago when he was at National Housing? Could that chairman be now managing the taxpayers' money to the tune of more than double that you had him managing? On the eve is that chairman. Who, pray tell, is a minister that feels that he knows about valuing land more than the result of these ministers not taking the proper professional advice? Has the government had to pay out interest simply because practical completion dates are finished and know full well that they can't move in for months, but the clock start running on the interest to be paid? How much hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest did we have to pay at Valerie? How much hundreds of thousands or millions did we have to pay at Grotto? Do you understand that I am not ready to talk about this yet? Do you understand that when I talk about it, it is because you have read, you have ingested, and you have studied what went on in this our fair land? And Frundell Stewart directed a question to my shadow Attorney General a few months ago. I didn't run and break the line. I didn't jump up and say, Frundell, stop cursing Dale. Stop telling Dale, bring the evidence. I waited my time. You people have to get to know me, you know. You people have to get to know me. I don't go slashing outside the off stamp. I know how to keep. And I know how to wait for the perfect time. And I say tonight, Frundell, as you travel to Haiti, as you forget about Barbadians for the second straight week, you asked for the evidence. We have now given you the evidence. It is over to you, Prime Minister. It is over to you. And you felt that you could make mock sport at Dale Marshall. But Dale knew, as I knew, that we were involved in a solemn process. Now, I want simply to say this before I come off of the PAC report. He talks about the 11-hour meeting as if that is sacrilege. The only thing sacrilegious about an 11-hour meeting is that them never standing in a meeting for 11 hours yet working. That meeting was a continuation of the meeting that started on the 9th of February, for which they had notice on the 6th of February. Dear PAC member, attached is the notice of the 42nd meeting of the Public Accounts Committee to be held on Friday, the 9th of February 2018. This notice makes reference to a draft report which will be circulated shortly. The one draft report went on the 8th. The meeting took place on the 9th. The meeting was suspended. You know, it's a beautiful thing when you're close to everything that's happening. Last week in the estimates, every night, the Speaker never adjourned Parliament a day. He suspended. This sitting now stands suspended until 10 o'clock in the morning. You remember those words? When you suspend the meeting, it is the same meeting, so there's no new notice. But I want to make this point. When you listen to him, you would feel that this was a... Hold tight. When you listen to him, you would feel that this was a meeting in Robert Street, correct? You mean to tell me that he forget, because he used to come and sit down and shake his head all the time. But when he spoke, you know where we met? In the Senate chamber. How the Barbados Labour Party members get in the Senate chamber to do the people work? When we met, who was recording? The Hansard lady and the recorders. How we get the Hansard lady and the recorders to do BLP work? When we met, the marshal was there. How we get the marshal to come out and do BLP work? When we met, the independent senator appointed by the then Governor General, His Excellency Sir Elliot Belgrave, namely Senator John Watson, was present at every meeting. How we get Senator Watson to turn up and take part and ask questions and participate in the meeting if it was a BLP meeting? When we met, they provided lunch. The Barbados Labour Party didn't send by norms for food. They provided the lunch. Parliament. Every aspect of how Parliament functions was met. The only thing that did not function in that committee was the members of the Democratic Labour Party. And they, my friends, had the majority on the committee. Now, if you have the majority, you could have shut down and outvote the Labour Party at any time, not true? And they chose not to. You know why? Because people may talk and people may fling hands, but you see, the power of the written word does not change. And when the letters started to come down, tops, when the letters started to show who wrote what and who signed what, and when the files started to come, they could not run from that. So I say to you, the time shall come for that full meeting, but we are not ready for it yet. You need to get your chance to read the report. Read the report. And when you read it, and when you can not only answer some of the questions I asked here, you can even ask your own questions, then we shall discuss the findings and the recommendations of the report. I say simply that all that they wanted to do, and Donville knew it, could not have been done when I presented the report. It is only to be done when I move the adoption of the report. But I can only assume that he was anxious for the adoption of the report, and therefore he jumped in to have his 2 cents worth. Because he knew that the length of time left in this Parliament means that it is highly unlikely that we can move any adoption of any report, because Frundell has already loitered beyond the 5th anniversary of the last election. And you know it. And I want to speak to that this evening too. But before I do that, you have to understand what is in their nature. Because the same week before, I asked 8 questions. You think I forget that I asked 8 questions? Remember I told you nothing will distract me. Do you believe he all of a sudden recovered? Simply because the newspaper wants to find everything to put on the front page other than the condition of the country and the condition of the people? But we're not going to be distracted because we understand, as Sandra and others put so eloquently here tonight, what it means for you. We understand the political gimmickry, Cynthia, that you will see the Attorney General open a police station tomorrow that is not finished. This is the only government I know that has groundbreakings before they're ready and opening ceremonies before they finish the work. You heard me talk earlier. You know, anything can be made to look pretty. But do you have the certificate of practical completion, Colin? Those are the questions that as a finance officer, you would be asking the company if you were working for the company with respect to an institution that is being opened and handed over. Can the contractor now be moved off of site and the police move in tomorrow night? If that cannot happen, why then is the opening ceremony being held tomorrow other than to make a puppy show? And let us go back, because you received a wonderful display from Chris Sinclair pretending on the opening of the estimates, the Barbados Sustainable Recovery Plan. This is the plan accepted by all. This is the plan that the private sector has said. This is the plan that the private sector has said is the greatest thing. This is the plan that the union has said is the greatest thing. They then say, where's the Labour Party plan? I always say, answer the 8 questions. The patient bleeding. But they didn't want to answer the 8 questions. Talk wrong, talk wrong, talk wrong, talk wrong, put up a plan. What did you get last week? The head of the private sector comes out first and says, but this is not a plan, this is a wish list, this is a to-do list. Can you believe that? But it wasn't only Sinclair that told us about the plan. It was none other than the Prime Minister. And when we come to these matters, we have to ask now, what really is being done in the name of the leadership of this country? But as if that were not enough, what happened then from the Barbados Workers Union, who put out the most scathing press release with respect to the same plan, and to let you know that in fact, social partnership meeting that they had on the 11th of August that they broadcast, that Sinclair told you was such a wonderful thing. Could anybody in Barbados believe that there has not been a single social partnership meeting since the 11th of August last year? You understand that the patient's sick. The patient's sick. And none of the doctors who are required, whether the anesthetist, the doctor who in charge of looking after the heart, the doctor who in charge of making sure that other vital organs don't fail, none of the doctors come together and have a meeting since the 11th of August. And since the 11th of August, our international reserves have fallen more than $200 million, almost by 40%. Look, when I tell you that the 2013-2018 Parliament is over for the Barbados Labour Party, it is not about trying to make mock sport or to do things for other people. I have 11 colleagues in that parliament, and those 11 colleagues need to stay on the ground and do the work on behalf of the people, because we have urgent business to finish in this country. Sandra could only give the kind of speech that she gave in here tonight, and William could only give the kind of speech that he gave in here tonight, and Dale and Cynthia, if they were on the ground in touch with their constituents. Anthony Wood continues even though he is not running. And what matters, and this is why I say that the contrast between Cynthia, who is the gold standard of representation, and what happened with those ministers whose names you will find out when you read the report, is because it has to be about caring for people. When I see Ronald Toppin, you don't know this. Ronald Toppin, the week before Christmas, he is going to visit constituents coming up Wellgate, Cave Hill. That is a fact. That is a fact. I am telling you what is hearsay. And I am saying to you that the Barbados Labour Party has determined, look, at the appropriate time, we will tell you what we will do with this country and what we plan to do. I told you last week that I do not believe in going halfway down the wicket and getting stumped. Wrong captain, wrong batsman. I've also told you, when we last met at annual conference, the things that I stand for and will not stand for. And when I was doing this work, I didn't come to debate by telling you what I had found, but it had an intrinsic and serious impact on me. And when I told you that we have to rid this country and to create a new level of governance, a new standard, it was I saw what